Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Men in Stripes, brought to you by StripeHype.com, a fan-sided exclusive site. Tim Daniel here, excited for a huge week in Bengals news. We have so much to talk about this week and so much to look forward to. So let's go ahead and get to it, none other than our excellent co-editor of StripeHype.com and the excellent sidekick we have here on the show, Mr. Matthew Wilson. How are you, sir?
I'm good. At first I thought you were talking about Dylan there for a second.
When he's on the show, he'll be the excellent co-host that's also the co-editor.
There you go. So, some definitely interesting stuff this week.
Yeah, let's hop into it, man. So last week we talked about Karlos Dansby and Brandon LaFell and their potential adds to the team, what they could possibly mean for this team. And it looks like as of yesterday, both guys have agreed to terms with the Bengals. They both have now had their opening press conferences with the media. They have signed their contracts, it looks like. So the Bengals have bolstered two areas of need for sure with two big free agent veteran signings, guys who have been to the big dance, guys who have played in the big game. So, a huge gets there. I really, really, really like bringing in Brandon LaFell, a guy who can take some pressure off AJ Green and Tyler Eifert, a guy who can play at multiple positions with the multiple wide receiver positions. I really like bringing in Karlos Dansby, a guy you can throw in to fill in for Vontaze Burfict for those first 3 games, I should say. A guy you can play in the inside, a guy you can put there's a lot of different spots too. Pro Football Focus even went as far as to rate Karlos Dansby as the third best linebacker in coverage last year in the NFL. So really like these gets, low risk, high reward signings, both signing little short-term deals. Man, just your thoughts there, what you feel about these. I know last week you weren't in love with the idea of Karlos Dansby playing here, but now that it's signed, now that the deal's in place, what are your thoughts?
The more I looked at it, because of course, I did both signing articles. The more I look at Dansby and even what he brought last year to Cleveland, Cleveland's defense has actually been their upside the past few years.
Yeah.
And so even taking a look and seeing what he brought to the table, he still played at a high level, and I was actually kind of shocked by that, just looking, at the initial numbers and taking a look at, what he's accomplished. And arguably, he could have had a definite argument for consistently being Pro Bowl for the past, how long has he been playing? 12 years?
Yeah.
So, there's really only been maybe 2 years in there that you could sit there and say he may have had a lull, but he's a solid player.
He is. I think he's going to be a good fit for this team. Especially, I really feel like it's an upgrade over Emmanuel Lemur. Yeah, it's hard to lose a guy that's young and athletic like that, but I think he's going to be a really good fit for this team.
Mm-hmm.
I do like what he brings to the table as far as Marvin bringing out his leadership abilities, like I said, this is a guy that's played not just in big games in the NFL. This guy's been playing in big games as long as he's been playing like high national attention football, playing in the SEC with Auburn. He's played in a Super Bowl with Arizona. He didn't play in a lot of big games in Cleveland just because he was in Cleveland, but he always showed up. He always played hard. And, he pointed out the Bengals as being a team he was interested in as soon as he was cut. So I felt like it was definitely a good marriage for both sides of it. He's been a really solid player for them, like you said. And I think he's really going to fill in because this is a team that, linebackers haven't always been the best in coverage. I know Vontaze Burfict obviously makes a huge interception in the playoff game. But, Ray Maluga in coverage has at times been a liability, so has Vinny Ray. So getting a guy like Dansby to come in, I think is going to really be a big thing for this team.
Yeah, he definitely has been one of the better coverage guys in the league, and he's proven that year after year. It's not where we all of a sudden saw him go, okay, I've lost this step, so I need to basically drop back into coverage because I can't get to the quarterback. It's been consistent.
Yeah, and he's always stayed in shape too, which is nice. You don't see that too often from guys who are 34 unless they're like James Harrison.
I was going to say James Harrison. But, he's used to, after 2 years, being in the AFC North, which is nice.
Yeah.
He understands the defensive struggle when these teams play each other.
Yep.
And overall, there could be an argument that he is, at 34, just as talented.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the talent doesn't show its regress if you look at the numbers. He doesn't miss a lot of games. I think in his 12 years in the league, he's missed 12 games. So that's something you can definitely look at as far as durability there. So yeah, man, now you got to think. Let's look at this week 1 now. So Burfict's out, as we know. Taylor Mays is out 4 games, as we know. So you're probably rolling out there to start the season at linebacker. You're probably going Karlos Dansby. Ray Mataluga is probably the definite. And then are you going A.J. Hawk, or is A.J. Hawk going to be the odd man out here?
I'm going to sit there and I'm going to say that you're going to be between, and I hate saying this because I like A.J. Hawk.
Yes.
Even if he's not the odd man out, even if he's still there, I still think that you've got to look at a rotation between P.J. Dawson and Karlos Dansby at this point.
I think that's fair. I think that Dawson's, definitely the future there. And I think having Dansby there is going to be huge. Plus, let's not forget, man, Jim Haslett's the new linebacker coach. Like, he's going to have, a lot of guys to work with there. He's also going to have guys that know this scheme. I think that Jason DeMott still being a member of this roster is very underrated, honestly. I'm not 100% sure he makes the team per se, but he's a guy who's been around this before. I know he had a year in Cleveland, but, he's you think that bringing him in still plays a part there. Marquise Flowers, I know he was hurt last year. If he can recover, he's a very talented, athletic young guy who could still make a splash for this team also.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's hard for me to see him make the roster. But even then, if he falls past, the waivers, are we looking at him being basically a practice squad guy that if something were to happen to a Ray Mataluga, to a Vinny Ray, being back up with his team, basically in the future?
Yeah, I think so. Don't get me wrong, Trevor Roach is still a guy there that you kind of think is that tweener of practice squad main roster also. But yeah, I could certainly see that case.
But, it's got to work, obviously, as we always say, it's got to work for both sides, and he's got to accept it as the role. Because if he doesn't want to be on the practice squad, he has the right of refusal just as well.
Absolutely. So, let's go to the other side of this, man. Let's talk about Brandon LaFell coming in. So right now you're probably looking at, before the draft, obviously, because we both, I know, honestly, I don't think bringing LaFell in changes the fact that they take a quarterback in the first round. Now, if they go and sign like Percy Harvin, a wide receiver, not a quarterback, I'm sorry. Now, if they go and sign Percy Harvin or something, then maybe I'll wonder if they're going to draft a wide receiver in the first round. I don't think they're going to sign Percy Harvin. Please don't sign Percy Harvin. Please don't do it. Please. Just don't. He's too much baggage. He's too much drama. He plays like 5 games a year. It's not that he's not talented. I just don't think he's a guy I want on my roster. I don't want to be, on my team. But I think, LaFell has a good addition to this team. Like I said, you can play him in a couple different positions there in the wide receiver core. I think he's a good complement to A.J. Green. 'Cause, a lot of people are kind of complaining about it, like, well, he doesn't have these numbers, this and that. And it's like, they're not paying Brandon LaFell to come in and be A.J. Green. They're paying him to come in and do his thing that he's done. He's a guy that's won a Super Bowl. He scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. He was huge in that Super Bowl against Seattle. He's a guy that was huge for Cam Newton for a couple years. And he's a guy that fits in pretty well. Like I said, I think he definitely has that. He's already talking about he's texting back and forth with Andy Dalton and how they're going to fit with him together and how excited they are to play together. You gotta think he's a better option than Brandon Tate to be a wide receiver on this team. So, what do you think about LaFell? We talked last week about the drops being an issue, but that's something that can always overcome because it's not like he has Greg Little drops.
Oh, and what we looked at, he's had a little bit of injury problems.
Yes.
Last season. He, let's put it the best way. The Patriots weren't the easiest team to play for last year, with all the media coverage of Deflategate and everything that way. So, you're looking at a perfect storm for Brandon LaFell to only basically have 50% of his targets become receptions, and over half of those non-receptions or drops. So, I mean, we're looking at the perfect storm here with that. We go back just 1 year past that, and you're looking at a Super Bowl ring.
Right.
You're looking at 900 plus yards.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at 73 or 70 some receptions. How's that? I can't remember the exact number. I mean, we're looking at wide receiver 2 numbers from the guy. And so, not to say that he's going to come in here and he's going to be the number 2 wide receiver and he's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, because honestly, until the season gets going, we have no clue. But at the same time, why can't he be that receiver? Why can't he have just had a bad year, a down year after having a great year, and now he's just got to find his way back? I mean, he's motivated. We see that.
Yeah, it's what have you done for me lately? Is what it is, man. And that's not fair.
Don't bring that Pittsburgh mentality in here.
I didn't say that. If it's what have you done for me lately, why is James Harrison still playing for them then?
Because James Harrison is James Harrison.
Right.
So it's James Harrison.
Speaking of, for how bad the Steelers secondary is, how about them losing Brandon Boykin, to make it worse?
Yeah, that doesn't help, but at the same time, I still somehow see Ryan Shazier dropping more into coverage than we've ever seen before.
He'll have to, man.
And Ryan Shazier scares me.
Oh,
because we know what he's done. We know what he's capable of.
Well, heck, last year they were dropping Stephon Tuitt into coverage off the D-line.
Yeah, that is very true. And they were, but I mean, they run a 3-4 defense. I mean, they run 4 linebackers, so they run two edge rushers on top of 2 linebackers on the outside, 2 inside linebackers who drop. Ryan Shazier is one of the better guys dropping into coverage, and he likes to use his head a lot though.
Yep.
And not in the good way.
Ask Giovanni Bernard about that.
Yeah, but remember, that's illegal now.
Now it is. Not,
of course.
Not when he's laying on the ground, with a concussion, looking up at the lights. Now it is.
Well, as we jokingly say for the NFL, it's whoever they want to win, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's joking anymore.
Oh, yeah. But
except for the Patriots one. I don't really believe that the NFL wants the Patriots to win after all this stuff with Congress and Deflategate. I think they just win.
Yeah. Well, and Bill Belichick, for being as dirty of a coach as he is, knows how to put together a winning team.
Yep.
And credit to him for that. I mean, you at least have to be a good coach to win games, and you have to be a great coach in order to, win games with everything against you.
Yeah, I agree.
So I mean, he is a great coach, as dirty as he is, and Tom Brady is, well, lucky, I guess.
Yeah.
He does have Giselle, so I mean, he really is lucky.
Yeah, and a lot of Super Bowls.
But then again, Brandon LaFell has a Super Bowl, so
yeah.
We'll take the experience.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. So let's go ahead and reset here real fast. This is Men in Stripes, brought to you by StripeHype.com, officially a fan-sided. So, as you know, we are kind of going further on the horizon here. YouTube shows for the every episode. I'm still working on getting these last couple episodes on iTunes. So, Matthew, thank you for being on top of the YouTube clips, so if our fans can at least listen to that. We are now on Twitter. So, if you want to interact with us on the Twitter, we are at Men in Stripes SH, and Matthew and I are both learning that. We're checking that regularly, so if you want to get in contact with us at all, have anything you want to talk about on this podcast, feel free to send it there. We are also have our new email address where you can email us questions, or if you want your topic of discussion to be in picking up or putting down. So, Matthew, that is, correct me if I'm wrong, meninstripessh@gmail.com?
Absolutely.
I knew I'd get it right. Yes, meninstripessh@gmail.com. We didn't have anything there this week, did we?
No. Our fans hate us. No, I'm kidding. They must be as stumped as we are about what's actually going to happen in Bengals land. Although we did get a question answered that we had last week.
Oh yeah.
By Jeff Hobson.
Oh, Taylor Mays.
And that was about Taylor Mays. And that was if the deal was really done and if he was going to be in a Bengals uniform. And supposedly the deal is done. But Taylor Mays somehow, in his glory of 4-game suspension that he's going to face, is somehow too busy to sign a contract. So, Taylor Mays, get your butt in, sign the contract if you want to be a part of this Bengals team.
Is he worth the baggage?
No, but they got a deal done with him, so at least do your part and sign your contract. It's not like you're Marcus Mariota who has to go surfing before he signs a contract.
Marcus Mariota's the man, okay?
I like Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, don't talk about Mariota.
You know what? I am still on this boat. I think Marcus Mariota, with experience, long term, is going to be a much better quarterback than Jameis Winston.
I agree. I think that, you know what? Like, truthfully, not as a person, but as a football player, I love Jameis Winston. As a person, I think he's an awful human being. I think we've seen that from his college days, but yeah, I think as a football player, I would love to have him run my team. But I really like having Dalton at the same time.
Well, he also just got probably and arguably one of the best running backs in the league to be behind him now.
Yeah.
So I'm okay. My wife is a Titans fan.
Oh, cool.
So I'm very excited to see her team in action because they now actually have a real threat in the backfield to alleviate some of the pressure off of Marcus Mariota. Now, if only the line can block.
Well, I think we know with Laramie Tunsil being the first pick there, that's going to be a good start.
Yes, it will be. And I'm excited for her team because, granted, of course, the Ohioan in me, the Ohio State guy in me, Eddie George.
Oh, my goodness.
Eddie George was the man. And so I have a healthy respect for the Oilers, now Tennessee Titans, because of Eddie George. And so it makes it kind of hard to be against them. And I said, I like Marcus Mariota. He no offense to you Notre Dame, but he really brought Hawaii back from a very bad situation with another player who got bad press.
Oh, we're going to go through that again?
Well, again, I'm still trying to figure out how he got fooled.
Dude,
I mean, he's a Notre Dame kid. He's intelligent.
Let's let it go, all right? Let's move past this. It's been years. Gosh, man. And look, it's not like his NFL career is going all that great either.
No, it hasn't. And it's sad because he was, and honestly, and I will say this, and I am unbiased by it, he was arguably one of the best, before that whole debacle, was one of the best players really to come out of that year.
Yep.
Matt Taiteo was a great player, and so to see him struggle and to see him basically, because of a practical joke, ruin essentially his mentality on everything, it's in all honesty sad because he is intelligent.
The honest truth, he is nowhere near as good as Jalen Smith.
No. Oh, no. That's why I said of that year.
Yes.
Definitely not saying ever.
I had this debate on my Notre Dame show all the time, man, where people will be like, what do you think about the comparison of Manti and Jalen? I'm like, Manti might be a better football IQ, but I've never seen an athlete like Jalen Smith.
No, and of course Jalen missed pro day.
He was he couldn't really work out, but he met with teams today, and he got measured and everything, and if you see him, he looks in great shape, and he's walking, so that's a nice step.
Have we heard how his physical ended up? Is that still to come?
Honestly, man, I'm hearing a lot that, his peak is middle first round, but I'm hearing, he also has that medical assurance where if he does drop to the third round for some reason, he's still going to make some money.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is pretty awesome, good for him. I don't know how it works, but, whatever. It's Notre Dame. So, I don't know, man. He still plays I think if I were the Bengals and he's there for me in the third round, and this isn't just a Notre Dame in me, like, Jesus, please give me Jalen Smith on this team, even if we have to wait 6 weeks for it.
Yeah, I mean, we went through that, though, with Ogbury. And
Yeah.
so we know that there are needs coming.
Yeah.
And especially, they still need one more wide receiver. As much as I like James Wright, as much as I think James Wright is going to be, or has the potential to be a solid piece on this team, they still need one more, because I like Rex Burkhead. He's got one more year with the team, and then who knows where he ends up. And I mean, they also weren't expecting him to be the answer when going into that, not only running back role, but then that flex wide receiver role. So, I mean, it comes down to they definitely need another receiver. Am I going to cry if they pass up a receiver in the first round? Not at this point.
It depends who they take from me.
Exactly.
If you can go and get, like, honestly, man, if they go against the Bengal way and don't go get a corner, I'm fine with that. I like Eli Apple a lot, but if they don't get him, it doesn't ruin the draft for me.
Yeah.
If you go get Andrew Billings from Baylor, you put him there next to Geno, I'm all for that. I am totally cool with that. But to me, the smart move is still wide receiver. I'm with you. I think they have to take one. If they don't take one the first round, maybe the second, because you're still going to have some decent players. But that drop-off after the 5 or 6 guys that we've been talking about since we started the show, it's just a huge drop, man. Like, after the Josh Dotsons, after the Will Fullers, after the Michael Thomases, after the Laquan Treadwells, after the Corey Colemans, that's a big drop.
Well, I still...
Oh, well, you like Malcolm Mitchell. I like Malcolm Mitchell a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my key thing there is, if you don't get in the first round any of those guys, if they don't fall to you in the second round. Now, granted, I like Tyler Boyd, and I think he has potential.
I do
and
too.
if you can get him, then get him. But I think that if you pass up all those guys and you don't get any of them, in the third round, you are looking at it's Malcolm Mitchell, or get Malcolm Mitchell now.
Yeah, I agree.
You can't wait for the fourth round and hope he falls to you.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So, all right, I'll put you on the spot here. Let's look at this, because we've talked about these 4 or 5 first-round pick wide receivers for weeks now. You know how I feel about Will Fuller, obviously, and I know how we've talked about these guys a lot.
Yep.
Dylan wrote the article where he did the 3-round mock draft, and he said the Bengals would take Josh Dotson.
Yep.
Andy Dalton was throwing to Josh Dotson today at TCU's Pro Day.
Does that surprise anybody?
No, not by any stretch. But how would you rate, man? If you have to go through, let's go 1 through 5 here. If you had to pick from least to from first to worst, as far as that's not saying worst in a bad way, the guy you want the most, how would you rate those 5 in order?
Josh Dotson.
Really? You would have him 1?
I'd have him 1 because I think there's chemistry there. Plus, he's coming from the same system that Andy Dalton played in.
Yeah.
And so I think automatically there's chemistry there, and that's going to help.
True.
Again, we're looking for a number 2. We're not looking for a number 1.
Right.
Number 2 would probably be Laquan Treadwell.
Wow. Ours is totally different.
I say that is because, again, I think Laquan Treadwell is the most talented wide receiver in the draft. However, does he fit this Bengals system well? Is he going to pick up the Bengals system and run with it well off the bat? Because if we're going first round for a wide receiver, he better be playing week 1.
I agree.
So, again, I like Josh Dotson in the fact that I think he fits the system better. So that's why I go with him 1, Laquan Treadwell 2. Number 3 is Will Fuller, because I just like his speed. I hate his size, and you and I have talked about that. I hate his size, but I love his speed. And if he can get that hands thing better, if he can take care of that ball and catch the ball and pull it in instead of using his body, I think he is going to be a dangerous weapon. Number 4, this one's tough because number 4 and 5 I could interchange.
Yeah, it's tough.
Number 4. Darn. I'll go Corey Coleman. I think he's fallen a lot more than what a lot of people have expected him to. Anymore, I see Corey Coleman maybe as an early second round. He might go first, especially with some of the needs, especially like the Broncos and a couple of other teams up there that need some help wide receiver wise. I mean, even the Patriots need a little help because obviously their number 2 is now with the Bengals. Or at least number 3 is with the Bengals, whichever one you want to look at that week. And Brandon LaFell. So they need a little help wide receiver wise, and they could definitely use one because they love weapons for Tom Brady.
Right.
And no offense, I'm picking Tyler Boyd over anybody else.
Are you?
And the reason why I don't think he's a first-round draft pick by any means.
No.
But I'd rather see him picked up in the second round than any other wide receiver there. If you don't get those 4, I'd rather see Tyler Boyd. I mean, that's in all honesty. And, of course, Malcolm Mitchell's in there as well. I mean, obviously he'd be 6 for me. But that's me.
Huh. Ours have same players, just different order.
Okay.
1 for me is Corey Coleman. I think that he is the best wide receiver prospect. I think he brings everything to the table. He's definitely fast. His hands are good. He's played with some mediocre college quarterbacks and made them look outstanding. He got Bryce Petty drafted in the 3rd round last year. Let's not forget that. So I like Coleman a lot. I just don't think Coleman drops to the Bengals. I think he doesn't get farther away than Minnesota.
Okay.
Will Fuller's definitely my 2. And here's why. I agree. The hands are, a thing he's got to work on. It looks like in his pro day today, he has worked on his hands a lot. His hands looked outstanding. He didn't drop balls. He was catching passes away from his body. Everett Golson was even throwing to him. And he was still managing to make some big catches there, so it looked like that's, that progress is happening. 3 for me would be Josh Dotson. I love Josh Dotson's game. Love what he brings to the table. I just don't think that he's going to be as explosive as Fuller will be, and I don't think he's as good as Coleman. That's not an insult because I love Coleman a lot. Laquan Treadwell's my 4. I agree. I think that, athleticism, stuff like that, hands, he's great. His speed worries me because he's not – I mean, he's definitely got the body. He's a great red zone target, but his speed is my concern, and I think that's the only reason I put him below there. My 5, I'm shocked he's not in yours, and I'm, he's, depending on where you look, a lot of people love him, a lot of people don't, as his place situation. Yeah. Michael Thomas from Ohio State. I love Michael Thomas. I think he brings a lot to the game. And if you look at it, man, and obviously you don't need me to tell you this. You know what I'm telling you here. Not only is Michael Thomas a great wide receiver, he's a very good possession wide receiver. He's a really good blocker. If you go back and watch that first game against Virginia Tech that Ohio State came out and with the infamous Braxton Miller spin move, you see Michael Thomas downfield and Zeke even downfield making blocks for him to continue the run going. So I think you can't go wrong with either of the guys we named. I just feel like if you have to pick one or the other, feel like you got to go with either Coleman or Fuller. That's if they're there, obviously.
And I don't mean to put down any one of the guys obviously that Serenity put in his article today, but I just don't. Let's put it this way, I like Braxton Miller to a point.
Yeah.
I still am not bought on his rawness. Number 1, number 2, I just don't. I don't like him for this system.
I agree.
That's me. I mean, we already have that, or we, at least in terms of versatility as running back / wide receiver with Rex Burkhead. Obviously, we don't have the quarterback aspect, but do we really need that? Especially now that we know, number 1, that AJ McCarron can come in and take over, and number 2, I mean, it's a luxury to a point, but how many times did Mohamed Sanu really make passes?
I don't think he threw any this year. They had a couple of plays, but they were covered, so he ran the ball.
Yeah. But, I mean, there's different ways you can kind of incorporate a Wildcat system if you really want to.
Right.
And even with AJ Hawk. Or not AJ Hawk, I'm sorry, AJ Cameron. I'm on AJ Hawk for some reason. I did that last week with Joey Bosa.
Yeah.
Which you didn't catch until I mentioned it. But, I mean, and that's shocking, by the way, because I'm bad with that stuff. But AJ McCarron, I mean, he does have the at least athletic ability to run. So does Andy Dalton. So do we really need a true Wildcat system? Because that's not really what this team has played.
No, they don't, man. They're don't be wrong. I love the idea of Braxton Miller lining up in the slot, and they run some sort of wide receiver reverse where Andy Dalton hands him the ball and he throws it deep. But other than that, yeah, I'm with you, man. I like his athleticism. I think he has the athleticism to make up for his rawness there. And he's shown the hands. I mean, he's certainly shown the hands in his year playing wide receiver at Ohio State. But yeah, I just I'm not 100% certain, especially going against these guys who have solidified themselves as top tier college football wide receivers for 3 or 4 years, who went out there and played big games and won big games and made big plays and put their team on their back when they had to. We just haven't seen that from Braxton Miller yet, and that's not to say that Braxton Miller doesn't have that. We don't have that tape.
No, and I mean we've seen, and I think the thing that Braxton Miller also has going against him is we've seen Terrell Pryor.
Yeah.
And we kind of know that at least early on, and granted he did switch before he went to the pros, which benefits him obviously, but we also know that Braxton Miller is a quarterback first. He kind of became a wide receiver when all of a sudden, it was T.J. Barrett and Cardell Jones, and then he was number 3. So, I mean, I hate putting it this way, but I think Terrell Pryor has put some bad taste in some teams' mouths about going for a quarterback as a wide receiver in this instance. Let's
touch on this real fast, man. So, let's say they get one of these wideouts in the first round. As we expect they're going to. Good move, right thing to do there. You got to think the next need after getting the linebacker, after getting Dansby, is probably gonna be defensive tackle. Let's say that Andrew Billings is gone by then, as we expect, when the Bengals pick at 55. You being an Ohio State guy here, I'll ask you this, and, if you want to take the Ohio State fan out of it and say it as the real fan, go for it. If you want to speak as the Ohio State fan, go for it. At 55, if Adolphus Washington is there, would you take him?
You're going to put me on the spot, aren't you? Wow. I mean, okay. Best way to put this is Adolphus Washington is very talented.
Yes. And
I like the guy. I think he has all the potential in the world. And as a second-round pick, it's a good look for sure. But then the real question though is there anybody still there who maybe have fallen? I mean, is Vernon Butler from Louisiana Tech still there?
No.
Who's very highly rated. And then it's kind of a play between Austin Johnson and Adolphus Washington. Both have played in the Big Ten, so both understand a big system. And the Bengals love to play a big defensive system. And so it's kind of a toss-up there because, again, Adolphus Washington is talented. He knows how to play in the big game where Austin Johnson doesn't. Austin Johnson may have a few more technical things that I like a little bit better about him than Adolphus Washington does. But technical playing styles can be learned. And so I almost like the high-pressure situation, high-pressure, high-stress atmosphere that Adolphus Washington has grown in, especially with having, Big Ten title underneath his belt, having a national championship title underneath his belt, played with adversity, especially last year when, kind of everything was against them, because of course the expectation was, well, that last year was supposed to be the year that they were supposed to win anyway. They were just a year early the year before. So he's seasoned in terms of those type of situations, in which we see with the Bengals. Can they win a playoff game? Can they get to the next level? So if Adolphus Washington is there, I like the pick.
Okay. Well, let me play this, and then not to throw the Notre Dame card here. What if Sheldon Day's there? This is a guy that has played defensive end. He has played defensive tackle. He has played all four major down lineman positions. He has at times even backed into an outside linebacker scheme if need be. He was unblockable at the Senior Bowl. And you can say what you want about the games that Notre Dame's played. They play in big games every week. He has played, take it for what it was, he has played a national championship. And if you look at that game, I know what the score was. He played very well in that game, and he was 18 years old going against All-American offensive linemen. He has, taken some of the best offensive linemen in the country, guys that were top 5, top 10 draft picks from Stanford and BYU and places like that, and he has destroyed them. If Sheldon Day is there and Adolphus Washington is not, I make that move.
My other question then to you would be, because defensive back is another place
it is
that they really need, and especially in corner. With Sheldon Day being there, but possibly even somebody in the cornerback dropping, what do you think they should go after Sheldon Day, or do you think that their need at cornerback is maybe a little bit more immediate at that point, and you go for cornerback?
It depends on the cornerback that's there, because I think that the stable they currently have is great. You can't be upset about Adam Jones, Darqueze Dennard, Drake Kirkpatrick, Josh Shaw, and Chris Lewis-Harris. That's a pretty solid group they have there. But there are some guys that if they are there and you can get them, I would get them in a heartbeat. Let me give you a sample here. Holy crap, I just lost my notes. So what's his name? Walter Redmond from Mississippi State. I like him a lot. Eric Murray from Minnesota. I like him a lot too. Will Redmond. I'm dumb. And then, and then I really like Von Mell. I know he's more of a Von Bell from Ohio State. I know he's currently more of a safety. But I think those are the three guys I would consider skipping over for Sheldon Day. Eric Murray more than the other two. No offense to your Ohio State guy there, but I think that he's a very under-the-radar talent that if he doesn't go to Cincinnati, someone in the AFC North like a Baltimore will probably take him and will really regret it. Yeah.
No, I agree with you there, and so it definitely becomes a game of anything after. Well, actually, even we can kind of say it now with Brendan LaFell being there. The Bengals are kind of in a position again where they can go after, still have needs, but they can go after kind of the best player on the board for every single one of their needs.
I agree, and I think that'll be a big part there. I think the Bengals are, pretty confident in these guys they have a corner. If they weren't, I don't think they would have let Leon Hall just walk away.
Well, and there's still rumors out there that they are working with Reggie Nelson.
That's fine, but I don't want to see Leon Hall back.
No, I wasn't gonna. You were afraid I was gonna sit there and say about the rumor mill being that they're going after Leon Hall, weren't you?
Yes, because I don't want him back. It's not to say I don't appreciate what he did for his time in Cincinnati, because he was very good here. Yep. But when people talk about him like a top-tier corner, I just always shook my head.
He was good, not great.
Right. He made plays here and there, definitely. He had 3 or 4 pick sixes, obviously, and you can't take that away from him. But, honestly, man, go back to these games and just watch a lot of these games where, he either gets beat, or he is just too slow, or he just, quits on a play. Prime example, a couple years ago when they played Pittsburgh at home and Martavis Bryant had that 94-yard touchdown. Leon Hall quit on that play. Hardcore. This year, the playoff game, why is Paul Gunther on 4th and 3 with the game on the line putting Leon Hall and Antonio Brown in the slot? Why are we doing this, Paulie G? You're my boy. You know better than this. You know with his Achilles injuries, he can't cover them. Put Josh Shaw there. I don't care. Not Leon Hall in this circumstance. Time and a place for that argument, I know.
Yeah, well, We'll revisit that on a flashback episode of worst losses by the Bengals. No, I'm kidding. Hopefully we don't have to go through that episode. I'm hoping we don't.
Yeah, I don't want that episode.
But no, I mean, Reggie. If they can get Reggie Nelson back, if they work something out, let's put it that way, where Reggie Nelson's back in stripes next year, I think the idea might be wide receiver, if possible, defensive tackle, if possible,
Center.
Kind of no, I would even put a center to the fourth. And the reason I say that is, if I remember correctly, there's maybe one or two, there's a couple like solid centers out there, and then they kind of just drop off until third or fourth round. I might be wrong on that.
Yeah, there's the kid from Alabama. There's Nick Martin, and then actually you're right. You're totally right there.
So it's kind of, to me, it's kind of one of those. Okay, I like the guys, but if I'm them, I'm waiting a little bit for that. In center can be a fourth round, but I'm looking at somebody who, could be kind of like why am I all of a sudden blanking because you just brought up his name?
Whoa, hey.
Yeah, we're all of a sudden getting video from NFL.com because I hit randomly supposedly play when no, I didn't. I love how their stuff randomly plays. But why
Nick Martin?
Why am I having like the biggest dumb moment ever?
Are you thinking of Nick Martin?
No, I'm thinking of Ohio State's safety.
Von Bell.
Thank you. Von Bell is one of those that could be a good kind of flex guy, corner safety type guy. Mm-hmm. And having somebody like Adam Jones to kind of bring him into that, and having somebody like Reggie Nelson to mentor him, honestly, is almost kind of like a best case scenario. But having a player like that, again, I don't expect Von Bell to be there in the third round, but if you can find a guy who could be successful and be a flex player in the defensive backfield or in the defensive secondary, obviously having Reggie Nelson there to mentor him would be a luxury. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying you kind of have to look at that for your number 3, and then maybe looking at center as your number 4. I'm still not fully giving up hope on this offensive line. Obviously, I don't like the Eric Winston fact that he's back. We know that.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't like the fact that he's also the president of the NFLPA.
Yeah, I think they should be preparing for Bowie and Fisher to be kind of at the helm of the offensive line.
But we also know that Fisher has the ability to flex.
Yes. And
Fisher could be one of those guys who you could flex to center. And, I mean, the argument there could be, and not to sound like racist in this, but be a white man's Marquise Pouncey.
Ooh, I like that.
And so,
not to sound racist here.
I don't know. Like, somebody's going to sit there and go, why are you picking on my black boy in Pittsburgh? I don't know. But in all honesty, he has that capability. Marquise Pouncey was not a center to start. I think actually he came out as a guard. And he flexed to center when they needed him to. And he ended up being a better center. And so he can't stay healthy. That's his issue. But I honestly think Jake Fisher, if need be, you could flex him to center. And I could see him being a very successful center because he is that flexible at the offensive line. And he's quick. You need a center to be quick because he's got to snap that ball and then be up to guard or be up to block. And so I like Fisher in that role, and I think that they have something there if they want to play that role because they have a year to kind of still play around with the fact that Andrew Whitworth is signed for another year. And
you got to deal with the potential of losing Kevin Zeitler, though.
Yeah. You do, but there again, yeah.
Hey,
Okay.
Let's talk about this real fast. Just curious because we've been naming this whole episode, and I know we don't have much time left on the show. What would you think? Third or fourth round. We've talked about needs here and there and important things, and I've shared my opinions pretty vividly on Mike Nugent and how his up and downness is very frustrating. If you can get Roberto Aguayo, the kicker from Florida State.
Okay.
Would you do it? I would do it. I'm not going to lie to you. The guy is shown consistently he's a top-tier kicker. He has kicked in huge games. He also has a national championship. He also has the record for most consecutive extra points. He also has has kicked in a lot of huge situations. He's won a lot of games. He was iced at his pro day and still came through in the clutch. Dude, that would be a huge get. We make fun of and we joke about kickers. I actually did a petition in my fantasy football league to get kickers removed because I lost 3 games last year by 2 points or less because of kickers. I would totally love to have Roberto Aguayo on this team.
Oh, it's hard because, again, as you said, he's talented. He's got the consistency. But a kicker in the 3rd round.
Dude, he might go in the 2nd.
That is almost like picking, who's the one that is paying $3-4 million for their kicker?
Sebastian Janikowski was picked was the 11th pick of his draft.
Why do you have to make stronger arguments? No, I'm kidding. I see your point. I don't think the Bengals do it. If we're being totally honest with ourselves.
I don't either, but
I don't think we could argue with the pick. We might kind of scratch our heads and go, okay, thanks, Nugent. But at the same time, if he was there and they picked him up, I don't think we could argue with the pick. I mean, it's kind of one of those very hard indifference moments where it's I don't like them going after a kicker in the 3rd round. I don't like them going after a kicker in the 2nd round. I think that's a day 3 style pick, but he's good.
He's really good, man.
So, yeah, I mean, if they pick him up, good for them.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. So it's a tough one there. That's why I was kind of curious your thoughts. All right, man. So let's get down to it yet again. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, it's time for another installment of Picking Up or Putting Down, our favorite weekly segment that we do, where we give our opinions on a few important topics going on throughout the world of the football. So, Matthew, let's start outside the helm of Bengal Dome. After his pro day, where he was unbelievably impressive, in the same pro day as Roberto Aguayo, Jalen Ramsey, first pick overall, Tennessee Titans, picking up or putting down?
Putting down.
Are you? Okay.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, guy's good. They need an offensive line.
Yeah, they do.
And, I mean, Laramie's the obvious pick. I mean, to me at least. And that's not to say anything against Jalen Ramsey. He's a great player. And with RG3 being in Cleveland, you could actually argue that Cleveland might be smart to go after him.
I hope not.
I mean, no. I mean, we don't. But, coming from the Bengals side. But at the same time, they would honestly be incredibly intelligent for that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because they have RG3 there, they could go. Connor Cook's going to fall to the 2nd round first off.
Yeah.
We'll make that obviously clear at this point. You might even see what's his face from. Now I'm going to blank on everybody's name today, aren't I? Paxton.
Paxton Lynch.
Thank you. We might even see him fall to the 2nd round.
I think he goes to Denver 31st, actually.
Yeah. That's very possible, because they need it. But it's kind of one of those that, again, Connor Cook wouldn't be a bad fit for that system.
No.
And he would have a year, potentially, if RG3 can stay healthy, to learn.
Yeah.
Under Hugh Jackson.
Yeah, man. I agree. I'm going to put it down, too. I think the Laramie Tunsil is the obvious pick there. I think that's, set in... I don't think it's set in stone, obviously. I think that the Titans will really think about Ramsey because he is that good of a player.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping Cleveland passes him up. Because I think they will. I think they'll go take like a Jared Goff there. They might even take Carson Wentz there. I know we've had that argument before. But I think that third, fourth pick, where Dallas is picking fourth overall, if the Dallas Cowboys get Jalen Ramsey, ball game. Like, he immediately changes that defense, man. I am not overrating Jalen Ramsey when I say these things about him. What I'm saying is the total truth. If you are a casual football fan who doesn't watch college football, watch this kid's tape at safety, corner, and returner. You will be blown away by the things he can do on the field.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm trying to think of who they were comparing him to NFL wise.
He's got some Ed Reed in him at safety.
Yeah.
And then when you play him at corner, he's got a little this might be overrating him, but he has a little of that Darrelle Revis Island play.
So, are we saying that the Cowboys pick fifth, don't they?
Fourth.
Okay.
I don't know if he gets past San Diego.
Well, if he gets past anybody, the Ravens are immediately getting
and
him.
We're screwed.
And, oh yeah. I mean that he is not getting past the Ravens.
No.
We'll put that right there.
No.
But at the same time, no. I think we both are on the same page. I think Titans go offensive tackle. They have to protect their franchise quarterback.
I agree there. All right, let's go to these new Bengals.
Yeah.
Picking up or putting down. Brandon LaFell, 5 touchdowns.
I'm picking up. And I'm picking up because I think we see a 2014 version of Brandon LaFell because he's got something to prove.
I'm picking up because I think that he's a perfect fit. The Bengals, if you look at even Marvin Jones last year, he managed to score 5 touchdowns with A.J. Green and Tyler Eifert. And honestly, man, I think LaFell's a little better than Marvin Jones healthy-wise, if he's healthy. So.
Oh, absolutely. I think he is. If you want to talk about somebody who is used to the limelight and can step in and play the role, Brandon LaFell was a very good scenario. Of course, I mean, we have our scenario where, we had a couple other players we wanted. But
right.
Brandon LaFell kind of fell into the Bengals' lap, and it's turning out to be one of the best case scenarios, at least looking at it on paper.
Yeah, it is, man. I'm really excited for this. All right. So picking up or putting down, newest Bengal linebacker Karlos Dansby, who we know was very good in coverage as a linebacker and can make a lot of plays. I will put this stat line out there, and if you're putting down, you got to counter. So, Karlos Dansby, I'll say 80 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 interceptions.
Is that in the first 3 games? No. In all honesty, I think that he has the potential. 80 tackles would be light for him.
Yeah, but
he had 100 tackles last year.
Yeah, but look at the defense he's playing with now. He doesn't have to make every play.
Hey, if we look at it, he really didn't have to make every play in Cleveland either.
Oh, man.
That was the corner job.
Go back and watch that Thursday night game against the Bengals. Paul Kruger was terrible that game. Barkevius Mingo, we've already seen, is just a huge bust. Joe Hayden was out that game. It was literally up to him and Dante Whitner.
That's the big thing. Hayden was out. Hayden is the leader of that defense by far. I mean, if you want to talk about somebody who rallies the troops, that was their key. And Hayden being out was probably one of the biggest losses that team could have, because you bring Hayden in, he makes A.J. Green's a nightmare.
Yeah.
and he knows how to, and he shuts him down. Hayden being out in that game was the best thing for the Bengals. I think Jalen Ramsey, wow, I'm still on that. I'm doing great tonight. Karlos Dansby, we'll get to him now. I think Karlos Dansby is a very talented player. Looking at his stat lines, kind of studying his stat lines, I'll even one up you. I would say because they don't have, he's going to be the emotional leader in the first 3 games because he's obviously the one that knows the AFC North, and I think the guys will actually rally around him even with the experience of Malaluga and Vinny. But I'm going to sit there and I'm going to one up you. I'm going to say at least 90 tackles. I would love to see 3 picks. I would love to see the first 2 come in the first 3 weeks when he is more of a huge part of this team because he's replacing Vontaze. And I'm not going to give the sacks that you did, but I will give the tackles for loss.
Ooh, nice.
And I think overall we're going to see I think we're going to see 5 tackles for loss. Maybe a sack, but I think I think he's going to play more of a factor in the run defense there.
That's fair, man. I think you very well could there. All right, so last on this week's edition of Picking Up or Putting Down, Mohamed Sanu has a better season in Atlanta than Marvin Jones does in Detroit.
I'm putting down.
Are you?
Here, well, number one, because we've talked about this. Detroit has a 1A and 1B. Both are number 2 wide receivers.
Yeah.
Atlanta has a clear number 1.
Yep.
And so, for Mohamed Sanu to have a better season than Marvin Jones, you would have to see basically an implosion down there. Whether it be injury, whether it be Matt Ryan losing his mind. Either way is possible. But in all honesty, I think Marvin Jones is out to prove to everybody that he is number 1 potential. And he's just not another pretty face that was behind A.J. Green. And so I just don't see him accepting a number 2 role. And I think they play a 1A, I think they play a 1A, 1B type system down there where you have 2 guys who are really number 2 wide receivers who are I mean, you look at what? A.J. Green had close to 1,300 yards last year.
With only 80 catches.
And Marvin Jones had 900 yards.
Yep.
So you split that, you still have over 1,000 yards per person there. So I'm going to play the odds here. I'm going to say Marvin Jones has a better year.
Here's why I am fully picking this up. Do you remember when T.J. Houshmandzadeh was the second wide receiver to Chad Johnson, and he said, you know what, I'm going to go do my thing and go be a number 1 wideout somewhere?
Yes.
Didn't we realize how bad T.J. Houshmandzadeh needed Chad Johnson?
When he was in Seattle, yeah.
When he was in Baltimore, when he was in Oakland?
Well, yeah, those 2. I mean, the picture just comes into my mind, him in a Seahawks uniform.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, I really think that Marvin Jones was a compliment of having... Okay, let's go back to his 10-touchdown season.
Yeah.
A.J. Green still had 97 catches that year. Jermaine Gresham was second on the team in catches that year. This year, Marvin Jones was a compliment of A.J. Green and Tyler Eifert. Marvin Jones is no way ever going to be a guy that can do this on his own. And I like Golden Tate a lot. But I think when you look at the Atlanta Falcons, they have 3 options of who will touch the ball in that offense. You have the obvious in Julio. And you have Devontae Freeman. And you have Mohamed Sanu. If you look at Detroit, there is Golden Tate. There is Marvin Jones. There is Eric Ebron. There is Theo Riddick out of the backfield. There is Amir Abdullah out of the backfield. And, honestly, this is kind of like a argument. I like Matt Ryan more than I like Matt Stafford. I fully believe that Mohamed Sanu, I don't think either one of them will be Pro Bowlers. I don't think they're going to go out there and have these huge years there in their new teams. I think that they're really going to miss having Andy Dalton and having the Bengals offense around them. But I feel like Mohamed Sanu is going to play he's going to be more active in this team. Yes, Marvin Jones will probably be the number one wide receiver in Detroit, but I still feel like Mohamed Sanu is going to play a bigger part there.
So then I have one for you.
Okay.
Mohamed Sanu has more touchdown passes than RG3.
Ooh. I will put down, but I'll say it's close. I'm kidding. I really am excited to see what Robert Griffin gets to do in Cleveland, man. I want him to do well. I want him to succeed. He's got a very good coach, obviously, to help him out there in Hugh.
Yeah.
But, man, tell me, how is Robert Griffin going to really succeed there? Let's just take out the I hope part there.
Yeah.
He's going to need Josh Gordon to, one, not light up, be on the field if the NFL allows him, and he's going to need Gary Barnidge to do the same thing he did last year.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I meant it as a joke.
I know.
Because the joke in Cleveland is that's where quarterbacks go to die.
I don't think it's a joke. I think it really is.
But, I mean, what I think we're seeing, obviously, is Hugh immediately brought in, the house.
Yep.
So he is very much, I don't want to say aware, but he is very much knows what, Tom House can bring. But at the same time, RG3, and I have said this since we brought this up about him signing with Cleveland, until he can learn not to throw off his back foot because he has no confidence in his front foot because of the ACL-MCL tear, he is not going to be successful in the NFL again. And there can be an argument for the fact that he'll never learn to trust that front leg again, at least throwing, because he's always going to be worried about if somebody comes in on him and hits him just right. And so I don't see him being a successful quarterback that we saw his rookie year.
Fair enough. So all right, the last picking up or putting down, the most important one, if you know what this is this weekend. Who wins at WrestleMania, Triple H or Roman Reigns?
Isn't Undertaker taking on Vince McMahon's son too?
Yes.
Okay. So obviously Undertaker's gonna bury him. I gotta go with Triple H.
Ooh, I see.
But you know what? And I hate to break everybody's heart, but Mrs. McMahon has already announced it. The winner has already been decided. It's scripted. I'm sorry.
Well, obviously, yes. But we're having fun with it.
She had to ruin it, right? No, of course, with all this whole presidential nomination, she talked to Katie Couric one of these days, I think it was Tuesday, and she decided to tell the world how scripted it was. And it's like, oh, well, that's scripted, where this is not. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, she just broke, 10-year-olds' hearts all across the nation.
She broke the fourth wall.
Yeah. It was bad. But no, I think Vince McMahon, or I think their son goes down because, it's their son. He's about as brilliant as the old man, and we know that, behind every successful man is really the woman who made him successful. So we know that his wife had all the doings with that because he probably wanted all black rings, and she's like, no, we need to go tasteful. The ropes need to be red. So.
And with that being said, we will close out this week's edition of Men in Stripes, brought to you by StripePipe.com. Thanks again for continuously tuning in. As soon as we make things happen, we will get all over this world and make sure we get you guys taken care of for the all the iTunes and all that fun stuff. Be sure to be in touch with us on Twitter at menandstripessh. Be sure to shoot us an email, menandstripessh@gmail.com. Thank you all again. Enjoy this week coming up. We're getting closer and closer to the draft day, people. It's almost here. Have a good one, and who